Welcome to the Gemini new moon, where I really feel we are crossing a threshold from who we've been to who we are becoming. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a really extraordinary opportunity for you to address some of your own personal thoughts and feelings and emotions. And it's really not about anybody else, but you, the self. So let's dive in. Let's find out why this is what I'm picking up on, why this is the threshold for what I feel is like this new human. That is just the phrase that keeps popping up in my head is like, this is the new human. This is the new human consciousness. We've been through this revolving door of transformation for 18 months. And now there are things that are starting to anchor in much deeper. The newer version of you is starting to become more clear, and it's going to again become more clear as time goes on because you don't know the newness of who you are until you are faced with the same stuff that you've been dealing with, and then now you choose something different. Does that make sense? So it's like I've always had this agreement. I've always had this dynamic. I've always had this way that I embody fear and shrink myself and lower myself. And I just can't be there anymore. And that's where you start to notice because there's going to be these interactions. It could be at home, could be at work, could be with other family members, could be with friendships, like all across your world right now. There is a different way that you are encountering literally everything that's happening. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a wrong thing. It's a beautiful thing. But who said that evolution was going to feel like this beautiful cleansing thing? I think we have those moments where we're like, "Woo," it's a celebration because you realize what all of this hard work has been for. There's something that lands, there's something that shifts and changes in a way where you can actually say wow, I feel different and I feel good about it. I feel stronger. I feel more courageous. I don't feel like I have to withhold myself and my truth and the things that I want to say into the world because we know that Gemini is all about communication. It is a mutable air sign. Gemini's symbol is the twins. This is also something that has come up in my mind's eye when I was sitting here, really just meditating. I've got a list of all of these different astrological placements and transits that are going on. And so I sat here and I thought to myself, feel into the energy of Gemini for this particular moon. What does Gemini represent in this moon? And not for nothing, but it's not just a new moon, it is a super new moon. So it is jacked up extra, means that it appears closer to the earth, even though we're not going to see it because it's new moon. It's pretty glassed out, but it is a super new moon. And so when I felt into how does Gemini want to be represented in this dynamic, it felt a lot like passing the baton. Okay. The twins, the Gemini twins, they are identical. They are the mirror image of each other, right? But then there is nuance to them because they are different. They are not the same being. Just because, and if you know twins, you know that they can look an awful lot alike. They can look perfectly identical, whether they are identical or, paternal twins or fraternal twins, whatever they're called. But they're very different behind the facade of appearance. And so that's what this Gemini energy feels like to me is that there's two versions of you, one, and they are twins, right? They're the same thing, except for the fact that one version is letting go. One version is saying, I represent a lot of different identities, a lot of different versions, a lot of different micro personalities and traits, a lot of different ideologies, dreams, goals, fears, doubts, storytelling. And then there's this other version that's standing right next to it that looks identical to it, but it's not the same. it is a version that has started to really see things much more clearly, is starting to notice that when it looks at the other twin, it's like, we're not the same at all. I love you. I see how important you've been to my evolution. I see what you've represented in my entire process of development and healing and learning and growth. But there are certain things about you that are stuck and trapped and holding and clinging and gripping on to a story that no longer fits this identity. Because this identity, even though there's still a lot of road ahead of us, right? It's not like, oh, I've just become everything that I've ever needed to become. It's not that. It's that that older version is passing the baton to the newer version. And that newer version is saying, like, I can recognize what can't come with me because I'm starting to notice that the things that I desire and the ways that I desire to live and the things that I am now forming in agreement with are very different than what it has looked like before. But you look the same. And so that to me is this Gemini new moon where we are opening a door to a new version of us. And never ever look at the version that you feel like you're leaving behind as like, I'm abandoning that version. That version wasn't good enough. And now I have to leave that version here. It's not like that at all. It's just that there are limitations to that particular version. And those same limitations are no longer the same for this newer, updated version, right? So let's look at some of the other things that are playing into this because that Gemini energy is highly communicative, it is expressive, it has that duality to it. So that's also why I think it's like, look at this older version and say, thank you for getting me this far. Thank you so much for taking me this distance because I couldn't have gotten here without you. I couldn't have created what I've created without you. I could not have filled my life with the level of love and abundance and goodness. I could not have done any of this without you. But I also see that there is a dichotomy. And that dichotomy tells me that there are some things that, even though you have helped me get this far, there are things that you cannot help me reach because there are still limitations within you and you don't see that. But the vibrationally, on a level of frequency, that identity cannot cross the threshold into new human because it doesn't believe in what the new human believes in. Because the new human is starting to see that, oh, this is possible. Oh, I'm not willing to settle anymore. Oh, yeah, I don't think I'm willing to wait on this any longer. I think I'm going to take action now. I feel this sense of trust. I feel this sense of inner knowing. I feel like something wants to be birthed into creation. Something wants to come through me and be expressed into the world. And that's the thing with this Gemini energy is that it loves movement. It loves momentum and it loves to express. It loves to express. Because think about that, Gemini is a communicator of the zodiac, represented by the twins that are always kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. And so it's like, what is it, Castor and Pollock, Pollock and Castor, Pollux and Castor, I think are the twins, right? But they are bouncing off of each other. There is this bouncing off of each other energy right now. And then you're going to be like, thank you so much. And now I'm just going to keep going. Fresh start energy, it is going to be softer. It is a super new moon, but I have to tell you, a lot of the things that are showing up for this new moon are not like these throat punching, it's like truth bombing type situations, I do feel there's going to be some truths that are revealed in this transit. Only because how can it not? If this is the sign of communication and the sign of being expressive in your truth and in your ideas and in your movements and stuff like that. And it's very connected into like the nervous system, while also Uranus is moving through Gemini, Sedna sits at 1 degree Gemini. Like there's a lot that has happened in Gemini already. And it's engaging with us. It is engaging with us. Like it's nudging us, it's moving us, it's saying, the time for you to be sitting in the muck and the feelings of transition, which I think are the muck, when you feel stuck, when it feels dense, when it feels heavy, when it feels confusing, when it feels like I'm not sure, like, what am I doing? Am I making the right decision? And where is this taking me? And why? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, we get very wrapped up in our head. And Gemini energy is very much in the head, it is very mercurial. And so that is very connected into the nervous system and how we generate energy through our thoughts. So let's talk about a couple of the different aspects that are supporting this new moon in Gemini. We're coming out of that blue moon energy. Okay. So, blue moon energy means that we had 2 full moons in May. The blue moon was in Sagittarius, which is the complete opposite of Gemini. And that actually did land a lot of truth bombs. Like, that was definitely a full moon that I feel pulled the layers back. It kind of forced you to see that you started to notice, I'm not the same anymore. My emotions are pulling me deeper into deeper depths of who I am so that I can't hide from it anymore. Everything really just wants to be revealed. Everything that I'm ready to see, everything that I'm ready to know, everything I'm ready to act on is being revealed. And there is no going back from this place. A couple of the things that I think are really, really important are the fact that we have a Chiron trine Venus. Now, Venus will be at like 1 degree of Leo. But this trine has been going on like all week because Venus was sitting at 29 degrees of Cancer and Chiron has been at 29 degrees Aries for some time. Okay. Now, with Venus moving into Leo, there's still this very close, tight knit energy between Venus and Chiron. Okay. And Chiron being the wounded healer, Venus being the epitome of feminine embodiment, they are in this really powerful, expansive dynamic with each other because Chiron's about to move into Taurus towards the end of this month. Okay. And what that is going to do is it's going to completely shift how we encounter our healing process. Okay. And so when we've been moving with Chiron in Aries, I believe, since 2019, one or the other, but it's been a while. Okay. Now we're moving into Taurus. When it was in Aries, it was very much about self-image, identity, the self, the conscious self. Aries is very much about the self. It's very much about identity. It is ruled by the head. And so a lot of the different things that we have been navigating are the wounds that are related to how we see ourselves and our identity, how we show up, how we face the world. And we've had a lot of wounds to overcome there. And it may feel like that process is getting accelerated just a little bit more right now because Chiron is in the 29th degree of Aries, which is like that last little bit before it ingresses over into Taurus. And so there's like this tension. There's this like, we have to finish this up. There's an acceleration process. It can feel very challenging emotionally to move through this 29th degree. But as it angles to Venus, it is absolutely asking you to address the deeper feminine wounds relating to your identity. Okay. Because when Venus moves into Leo, she is not hiding. She is not just in the little floaty, like whimsical waters of Cancer where she has been. Like she's been in the beautiful depths of the waters when she moves through Cancer. It's very intuitive. It's very dreamy. It's very like nurturing. Leo, not the same as Cancer. Venus in Leo is going to be much more expressive, is going to be much more like centered, pay attention to me kind of energy. Not playing it small. Venus in Leo is very passionate and very fiery and very charged. And I get a lot of like red color when I feel that, a lot of gold, a lot of red. Okay. And so with this dynamic of Chiron and Venus dancing together, Venus is telling Chiron, help me find the truest truth. Help me access the deepest layers of the most natural and organic beauty that I behold, and let it shine through me out into the world without apology, without asking permission, without trying to shrink the boldness of my feminine power. That is a very big theme for this new moon. The other thing that I want to talk about is Uranus squaring off to the nodes of fate, and Hecate she has a presence here. Okay. Hecate is over the nodes, over the north node. No, over Uranus. I'm sorry. Hecate is watching over this dynamic. Uranus, the great awakener. I mean, like the great awakener is shock value, surprise, can induce a little bit of panic because it's like when we are awakened, there is like this very revealing, very like epiphany. Oh my gosh, like now I know something and I can't unknow it. And so with the nodes of fate, South node is always, and that's in Virgo, 2 degrees Virgo. South node is where you've been, what you have mastered already in your previous life. The North node at 2 degrees Pisces right now, which the nodes are going to be shifting soon. This July is going to be off the hook when it comes to astrology. Like that is probably the biggest month when it comes to 2026 astrology. Okay, so just be aware that what is coming in July is very big. It's very life changing. The nodes are changing. We are entering into eclipse season. Like, then we've got Lionsgate portal. Like, July is a big, big, big. Okay. And so Pisces, North node being at 2 degrees Pisces right now, your North node is really the way that your soul wants to move through this life. Okay, so it's like, what is the direction? What is the purpose? What is the way to get there? Okay, and so this is very much pointing into like lines of destiny. Now, when Uranus is squaring off to these nodes of fate, South and North node, and almost like a perfect square, which means 90 degrees, which means a little bit of a challenge here. It really just means that there's tension. They have to navigate tension with each other. And so, as the great awakener of Uranus is stepping forward and saying, like, okay, we're done. We're done. We're done. We're done playing it small. We're done making excuses. We're done blaming. We're done being distracted. We're done deflecting. We're done. It is time to level up. It is time to wake the hell up. It is time. And the thing about that is that, like Uranus is right up front with Sedna also. So we've got Hecate overlooking the nodes of fate. We've got Sedna, who is right in alignment with Uranus. And so we've got these goddesses that are pointing at your direction and saying, like, you are at a crossroads and it is time to let go of who you thought you were. It is time. And we're going to give you that grace to be at this crossroads. It's not like this radical shift of, oh my God, everything just flipped upside down. It can feel like that, but some of us are just a little dramatic, right? Because sometimes I am just a little dramatic and I'll be like, oh my God, everything got flipped upside down and inside out, and it's like, no, you're fine. I'm okay. Um, but it's not necessarily like being, this radical change, although you may feel it within you. It might not be the radical change that you see as evidence in your exterior reality, but it may very, very well be that I truly feel that I am becoming somebody different. And so when we look at Uranus energy, that awakener, think of that Kundalini energy that rises up through your body. Think about all of the awakening that occurs within your chakras, within the energetics of your mind and your body, how things are just firing off that you didn't even know existed within you before. That is this transit, okay? Between the new moon being in Gemini, the energy that I'm seeing playing out between Chiron and Venus, and then Uranus over here with Sedna and Hecate and the nodes of fate saying, like, your direction, we're figuring that out right now. We're figuring out the path because it's new, it's different. This is a new chapter. Things don't look the way they did. You know how many times you've asked for change and you're like, "Oh my god, I just need things to be different. I just need this change. I need this change. I need this to transform. I need movement here," right? Like usually when we're like we want change, it's like I need something to feel for me anyway. I can't really speak for anybody else, but I have a lot of fire and air in my chart. So for me, I get like this really passionate charge that like there needs to be movement, there needs to be momentum, and not for nothing, but if I don't feel like it's happening and I've been patient, I might feel inclined to do something to kind of shake things up and to get that ball moving. But not everybody will feel that way. That's just how I deal with it because I want I want that energy moving. I can only stay in the stagnation or sit in the muck for so long before I'm like, okay, time to get going here. And as a manifesting generator with a defined sacral center, that like when I start feeling that sacral energy charging up again, and it's like it's time to create, it's time to move, it's time to generate energy. I'm not willing to sit around any longer. But there's pros and cons to both ways, right? Because sometimes we need to sit in it. Sometimes, like, when we are constantly trying to distract ourselves, "Oh, I don't feel good about this. I'm feeling very uncomfortable. I feel lost. I feel confused. I feel like I'm navigating this fogginess where I don't know where my next step is. I don't know if I'm making the right choices. I don't know if I'm moving in the right direction." Right? And so that's not what I'm saying, like, go ahead and start kicking up energy. If you are in that space, then that means, like, let's really give this more time. You know what I mean? It's like, let's give this more time to kind of move on its own. You know what I mean? Because we don't wanna force the healing, we don't wanna force the movement, but what I do feel is that when you have allowed yourself to sit in it, you have noticed the different shadow aspects, the different wounds, the different agreements, and the different just the programming bullshit, the conditioning. When you're really starting to see I didn't even know I signed up for this. I didn't even know that this is something I was agreeing to. I didn't even know that this identity was related to this really screwed up belief that is related to something that happened to me 25 years ago. That's the kind of shifting I'm talking about. When you're starting to see that silver lining, the light, that little light at the end of the tunnel, when you're like, oh, ho, 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 I'm starting to really notice that I don't feel like I'm in the muck. I can feel myself starting to come out of it, and I can start to feel like something else wants to take shape. I can feel that there is an excitement that that is kind of generating. I can feel that like there's joy, there's happiness, there's I wonder what's going to happen next. I'm curious, I'm excited. Like there's a passion that's starting to move through your body again. That is when you know okay, I'm starting to come out on the other side of this, but we've got to help ourselves along, right? Like we've got to be able to help ourselves along. So if you're in kind of like that first part of it where it feels still mucky and junky, like this is where I'm going to invite you to write things out. Write it out. What Trying to think of the best way to say this. What agreement have I made with myself that is holding me back right now? What agreement have I made with myself that is holding me back right now? And if you want to take a moment to just like pause this and write it out, go for it. Because the next question would be, where do I feel like I am outgrowing this belief or this behavior? Is there a relationship? Is there a work situation? Is it your job itself? Is it where you live? Is it how you live? It's certain habits, patterns, different just different things. It could be even, I don't wanna eat this food anymore. I wanna give up drinking. I wanna give up meat. I want to change how I fuel my body. I wanna add more exercise into my life because I know that when I exercise, my body feels so good, but it's asking yourself some of the harder questions so that you can access the truth that lives within your body, within your nervous system, and that's what Uranus is like rattling and reawakening and like revolutionizing right now because Uranus is not here to whisper sweet nothings into your ear. Uranus is like, you've been given an opportunity to move, move. And if you keep coming up with excuses not to, I'm going to show you some stuff that lights that fire under your ass to get going. Okay. So that is a lot of what's happening right now. But it feels really, really good because we've come out of so many different transformations where it is like shedding and then activating and shedding and activating and shedding and activating. But we haven't really felt maybe that we've been able to solidly land in a space that feels like I can be here. I can exist here for a little while. This feels like a place I can settle, and get my bearings and now start living from this place. It still feels like you have a lot of moving boxes everywhere and you're not sure if this is where you're settling because you haven't settled yet. Like you don't feel that in your body. You know deep down that there are still things that are being recalibrated from within you. There are still things that are shifting. There are still things that haven't quite figured out in your mind yet. And that's the dichotomy there too, is between the mind and the body. So that Gemini energy is very strong. We are on the cusp of a lot of big things going into July. But this month for June, Chiron ingresses to Taurus after several years of being in Aries. Okay. Venus just ingressed into Leo. That is going to change the feminine energy. The other thing that is changing at the end of this month, the last day of the month, is Jupiter is going to now move into Leo out of Cancer. Jupiter has been exalted in Cancer and had this very dreamy, like that watery, nurturing, like it's been a very gentle, soft energy associated with this Jupiter in Cancer. When Jupiter moves into Leo, it's going to be a very, very, very big shift. Just as I said with Venus, and Jupiter and Venus do not represent the same things. Their archetypes are different, but there's a difference that you can feel when a planet that, is highly influential moves from a sign like Cancer into a sign like Leo. So there is going to be a whole new energetic environment that shows up for July. So we're going to get through this new moon in Gemini. Just know that there are more truths that are being revealed. There is kind of like we're gonna cut through the bullshit here. We're all done. The grace period is over. So there will be possibly a self-awakening to a new path, a new journey, a new endeavor, a new career, a new relationship, a new job, really just a new version of you, but how that new version wants to live out, this identity is just going to look different than how you've done it before. And I just want to celebrate that with you because we worked really hard, over the past year and a half or so with a lot of shedding of old stuff. And because the new human cannot be built overnight, it can't even be built in a few weeks. It's like you've had all of these things that you've carried around with you, and little by little, you've been able to shed and peel those layers away, and more layers reveal itself, and more wounds want to be addressed. And then there is more shadow work, and there is more healing work, and then there is more growth and development that comes with it. And so we've been in this very cyclical energy where it feels like lots of metamorphosis, but haven't really been able to land and anchor into something. Our butt feels like it's kind of like all over the place. So we and so if that's how you feel and it feels very unsettling to you, I'm going to invite you to do some really strong earthing exercises to really ground your energy into the earth. I would say now, and also, like I love grounding, but I'm also a Capricorn rising. And so I find that if you have a water sign rising, you tend to want to be in the water. If you have an earth sign rising like me, you tend to want to be in the dirt. And that just means like rocks. Like I love like I love hiking. I love the trees. I love big rocks and boulders and crystals and getting my hands in the soil and in the dirt and planting things. So if you have a earth rising, that might be exactly the medicine you need. If you have a fire rising, this may be a really great opportunity for you to kind of burn away very safely, of course, safely and responsibly burning things that you know that you are releasing and letting go of. And for those of you who have an air rising, this is a really great time for you to, I feel like, journal, um, I don't know why this is just coming in scrapbooking. I don't know why, but that's just what I heard in my right ear because I was going with journaling, meditation, meeting up with friends and just like talking and getting that energy out. Because if you have an air rising, your ability to express yourself through communication and ideas is really important to you. Okay. So pay attention, know your rising sign, whatever your ascendant is. I would say gravitate towards that element in really supporting yourself through this transition of Gemini new moon, through this transition of like new human identity anchoring into the whole, but always with love, always with grace, always with compassion. We're not here to judge ourselves, to criticize ourselves, to punish ourselves, or to extend that out to anybody else. Let this be your own journey. Let this be something that you share with yourself. But if you feel called to, talk to other people about it that you trust, of course, because there is a lot changing, and it does feel very interesting. I can completely attest to that. I can completely attest to the fact that over the past couple of weeks, there are things in my mind that do not think in the same way, okay? They're not following the same sequence of thought. It's like something wants to change in my routine, something wants to change in my daily patterns and behaviors. Something changes in terms of, like, maybe wanting to move certain things around in the house, maybe wanting to clear out old clothes in my closet and start to make room for new energy to come in. So that is all happening right now. I am sending you so much love because this is such a beautiful, like, realize that you decided to incarnate on this planet during a really powerful time, a time of great awakening, a time of great change and transition, a time of, I would say, new earth consciousness, Christ-like consciousness, fifth dimensional consciousness is really starting to become harder and harder to ignore, especially for the people who are naysayers or non-believers in what is happening on this planet right now. So please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure that if something resonated with you here, anything that you'd like to share, put it in the comments. And I am just sending you so much love. One more thing before I go. I really do feel that if you feel called to, this is a super new moon in Gemini. Make moon water. Put out a vessel of water. Put your crystals out. Like, I know that we usually use this for like full moon energy, but I'm telling you, I'm just getting this feeling, this vibe that this new moon is a beautiful new moon to go ahead and make yourself some new moon water.